AI, machine learning, deep learning, neural networks, generative AI, LLMs, AGI. Most people use these words like they're 7 names for the same thing. They're not. There's one simple map connecting all 7. Once you see it, AI job postings, interview questions, and stand-up comments stop being confusing. Let's start with the biggest circle, AI. The biggest ring is just AI, artificial intelligence. It's older and more boring than the hype suggests. Any system that performs a task that seems to require intelligence counts, including old hand-coded programs that never learned a single thing. Just rules a human wrote by hand. You already met that split in episode 1. Rules written by hand versus patterns learned from examples. AI is the entire field both of those live in. So yes, your spam filter is technically AI. But hang on to that, it's about to get more specific. It's the outermost ring, and honestly, the least useful one on a resume or a job posting, because almost nothing gets excluded by it. One ring in, machine learning. The learns from data instead of handwritten rules, half of that split. Here's the twist most job postings miss. Machine learning does not mean neural networks. It's a much bigger tent than that. A classic example is spam filtering. You can build a genuinely useful spam classifier with something like a naive Bayes classifier, just counting which words show up in spam more often than in real email. No neural network, no deep learning, just statistics. So, every neural network is machine learning. Not every machine learning is a neural network. That distinction alone puts you ahead of a lot of how this gets described. One more ring in, deep learning, the part of machine learning built around multi-layer neural networks. Neural network is the name for the actual technique. Layers of tiny connected units, loosely modeled on neurons in your brain. Loosely is doing a lot of work in that sentence. A neural network is not a brain simulation. Real neurons are wildly more complex, and the way these networks learn has no real biological equivalent. It's inspiration, not imitation. Deep just means the network is stacked with many layers instead of 1 or 2. Deep networks existed earlier, but it's specifically around 2012 that they started producing breakthrough results. And that's what kicked off the AI boom you've been living through ever since. Here's where the map gets interesting. The next 2 words don't nest inside these rings at all. They cut across them. This is not a smaller ring inside deep learning. It's a second axis, a completely different question. AI, ML, and deep learning describe the technology family. Predictive and generative describe what the system is actually being used to do. Predictive AI sorts and scores things that already exist. Generative AI creates brand new things: text, images, voice, video. Recommendation and fraud detection systems are commonly predictive. Chatbots and image generators are commonly generative. Nearly all of today's generative AI happens to run on deep learning underneath. But generative describes the job, not the machinery. Which brings us to the word every AI engineer job posting actually means the large language model, or LLM, a large neural language model built using deep learning. Today, you'll most often meet LLMs through generative applications like ChatGPT, an LLM sitting at the point where deep learning crosses generative AI, specifically for text. Most of the LLM products you use are generative AI applications, but not every generative AI is an LLM. The tools that generate images, voices, or video are generative AI too, just a different intersection on the same map, sitting right next to the LLM you already know. Which leaves the last word. AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. The idea of a system capable of performing a very broad range of intellectual tasks, not just the ones it was trained for. And here's what makes it different from every other word on this map. It doesn't get a ring. There's no broadly agreed standard showing AGI has been achieved. Even the experts can't agree exactly where that line is. And here's where it gets strange. The company that makes ChatGPT has an actual legal contract with Microsoft that defines AGI, in part, not with a science test, but with a dollar sign. At least $100 billion in profit. Not a test, not a benchmark. A number on a spreadsheet. So, next time a startup's slide claims AGI-powered anything, ask whose definition, because even the biggest lab in the industry defines it with a dollar sign. Think you've got the map now? Good. In a minute, I'm going to give you 5 questions and see if it's stuck. Let's put the map to work. Here's a job posting. 3+ years of LLM and neural network experience. That's asking for one specific intersection, plus the technique underneath it, listed like they're 2 separate requirements. Here's a Slack message from a PM. Can we just slap some AI on this, like ChatGPT does? They mean generative AI, specifically an LLM, not AI in general. Here's a founder's LinkedIn post. We're building AGI-powered analytics. Ask whose definition. You already know why. And here's an interview question. What's the difference between machine learning and deep learning? Deep learning is machine learning, specifically using neural networks. Not all machine learning is. That's your map. 5 questions, no notes. Question 1. Does machine learning require neural networks? No. Question 2. Is deep learning part of machine learning? Yes. Question 3. Is generative AI a smaller ring inside deep learning? No, it's a separate axis. Question 4. Is every LLM generative AI? Yes. Question 5. Is an image generator necessarily an LLM? No. 5 for 5? You know this cold. Comment your score. Genuinely curious how many of you actually get all 5. Now you know where LLMs fit. Next episode, we open that box and see how ChatGPT actually turns a prompt into an answer. See you in episode 3.